Welcome to All Worn Out. I'm your host, Warren Meredith. On the show today, Mikaela Gorman of Halifax, Nova Scotia. She's a journalist at saltwire.com, and we used to go to high school together many moons ago. But back then, she went by the name Michael. Hi, everybody. Welcome to All Worn Out. It's a podcast about music. It's a podcast about what you're passionate about. And it's a podcast about what our guest is passionate about. Today, I am so thrilled and excited to welcome onto the podcast Mikaela Gorman. Mikaela is we go way back. We go maybe back to a time we don't want to talk about because it's so long ago and it makes us feel old now. But Mikaela, you remember North Dundas. It was an interesting time, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely one thing to look back and be like, oh yeah, our high school was so old and we were in high school so long ago that the building doesn't exist anymore for health reasons. Oh, fuck.
Uh-oh. Health reasons? That's not good.
A little asbestos and a little grave water didn't hurt any of us to my knowledge.
Yeah.
I don't know. I changed gender, so maybe it did fuck with me. So I don't know.
Well, I mean, okay. Well, on that note, you are a little bit different than I remember you, but not that much different, to be honest. And I'm gonna get into that, like, as much as you want to get into it, because honestly, I think you're awesome, and I really want to hear about your journalism and everything you've gotten into over the last couple of years. So, as much as you want to talk about it, I'm cool. But it's like I said, you're a little bit different. I remember, but not really. You're still. I try to be less of a jerk than I was back then. I try to be less of a devil's advocate than I used to be back then. But besides that, I think we had a lot of fun. I mean, the drama,
Oh yeah.
like.
We had the most fun that you can have in the early years of the war on terrorism.
Yeah, it's so funny. Yes, it's so true. We were there like when Bush was like absolutely destroying the world, and yeah, we were just kind of like victims to it. Like we just kind of had to stand by and watch and comment.
Yeah, the one of my earliest memories of that day, I'm pretty sure, was in at lunchtime drama club, and that's like where we heard about it. And I don't remember, like, I think you were there, but it might have been like just a couple of other people. And it's like so weird to hear about such a tragedy in essentially improv club. And of course, yes, terrible things followed in the next few minutes as we tried to process it through our normal teenage comedic ways.
Yeah, we were in grade 9. I think we're talking
Not good.
about like 2001, and we were in grade 9, and I was in French. I was in like a French sociology class,
Yeah.
and like something like that. And they came over and they were just like, they stopped everything, brought the TV, told us like the world's never going to be the same again, and which I guess is true, but it's never the same after every day. So I mean, that's the one thing we got to always keep in perspective is the media loves to sensationalize things and it loves to separate people.
Oh, we do.
And I mean, I'm not blaming you.
No,
but
I mean, it's the best way to get readers.
I don't want to. I don't want to blame
No,
you.
hey, listen. I have done, and we'll get into it. I have done my tour with yellow journalism and tabloid journalism. Don't we fucking worry about that. Yes, it can be pretty fucking ratty out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, of course, in the last 5 years, we've seen the trust in the media really go out the window, especially here in Ontario and, all the people who came from out west to invade the land here and get their point across, which they did. And, times are trying right now. There's no doubt about it. Things didn't really improve right away. They still aren't improved. It's a difficult time for people. Is it difficult out in Nova Scotia where you are?
It's shades of difficult. We get everything a little late and a little lesser, and that includes economic catastrophes and environmental catastrophes. So we had a little bit of fire last year. We had some flooding. It was bad, but a little bit of flooding. We have had a little bit of an economic inflation and a little bit of an invasion of rich people from Ontario mostly, who have driven up the housing market.
Oh,
So just a little bit. Bands don't come as far as Nova Scotia, but eventually we do get the disasters and the economic collapses. We just have to wait for them a little bit.
okay. Well, you spoke a little bit about music there for a minute. I kind of want to pick your brain because honestly, I don't know, and I kind of feel silly that I don't know. In high school, what were you into musically?
So I listened to a lot of System of a Down, a lot of like new, fucking new metal.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh goddamn, and some like goth metal, a little bit of a Perfect Circle, Tool, like. The guys I hung out with, like AJ and Jake, they were into like thrash metal and shit, and I could never get past it. But like I liked Rage, and like the whole time also I secretly was also listening to like pop music and musicals, lest anyone figure out I was queer. Oh god, do you think they know I'm queer?
No,
Oh
I
god.
did not know. I did not know. I'll tell you what. I found you to be a little bit of an enigma in high school in a certain way. Like I thought, like girls just didn't interest you, and that didn't bother me whatsoever. It never like I knew you were friends with everybody. I knew you were friends with everyone, and I never got like I kind of felt that there was something, but I never knew what, and it never mattered to me. Um, which it honestly makes me happy now being older, having that perspective. I'm glad I was a cool kid and that wasn't some kind of a dickhead. And I think yeah, like back then you were one of the guys to me back then, absolutely. And I know we had a heart to heart one time when we went to go see Shakespeare with our class in grade 11, I think. And we had to like
That was fun.
yeah, it was amazing. And we had a great chat and we talked about comics and about your love of comics, which we have to get into. And you kind of hinted or you kind of discussed with me that you were different. That you were just different and that one day you would feel comfortable enough to explain it, but and I remember that. And so I didn't see you during the transition. You were gone to school. So you went away from Little North Dundas and you went out to New Brunswick. Now you're in Halifax now, but where did you go to school?
I went to First Acadia, which is in the Annapolis Valley. It's kind of southwest of me right now. It's like about an hour away. Just actually down the literal road I am living on. So, yay, going far away from school.
Memories,
And
nostalgia.
so, memories. So I studied history, English, and political science there, and then I went to the University of King's College, which is in Halifax. It's technically Canada's oldest university, but it's also one of the smallest, and it is technically in the middle of Dalhousie University because the original University of King's College burned to the fucking ground. So they were able to rent space at Dalhousie, which was neat. I went to school in like a literal quad. Like there was the library building, the administrative building that had the bar in it, delightful, the student housing building, and the classroom building. And so you would stumble from one to the other, like library to bar, bar to class to bar, bar to library, library back to bar. It was fantastic. A good classic journalist's education. And I've been here ever since because essentially right after I got a job interning with what is, I guess, a local version of Exclaim magazine. There I got to interview Henry Rollins. Good fun. Good clean fun.
Yeah.
Yay. Great guy. I asked him if he would fuck, kill, or marry Margaret Thatcher. He smiled, laughed, and then went, no.
That's awesome.
So that
You
was
stumped him. That's great. It's hard to stump that guy.
right. I hold that one in great regard. And then I went to work for a yellow journalist tabloid called Frank Magazine. People in Ottawa may be aware of a Frank Magazine there. This is technically the same magazine, but in the early 90s, the brand split in half. So there was the original Frank magazine out here. It's essentially like a political magazine and like local news, but investigative journalism, satire pieces, shit like that. And so I spent 7 years there until it crushed my soul and destroyed me financially.
Uh,
And in one, oh yeah, no, it fucking sucked. In 1 month, I went bankrupt. I quit my job and I blew the walls off the closet and just outright was like, "No, I'm trans. I'm transgender. I'm a woman. I need to get the fuck out of here." And
okay.
that was 7 years ago at this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it just kind of built up in you, and you just had enough. You were enough, and you needed it to be the truth. You needed the truth to come out, and that's beautiful. Um, yeah, I'm proud of you. I don't know if that means. I doubt it means anything, but I mean, I am.
It absolutely does. Like I don't talk to enough of the people from high school. I'm away. I came from away into that high school. Everyone vaguely knew a couple of people at least. The Russell crowd all knew each other, and the Winchester Chesterfield crowd all knew each other, of course. And then you all got along well because like you had mingled at a pre prom or a junior high prom or
Yeah.
something. And meanwhile, like the only way that I was able to talk to anyone is because like I knew AJ and Jake
Mm.
Buckle from years before, and they were like, "Yeah, this is our friend Mike. Sup?"
They did.
Otherwise, I would have been like fucking paralyzed that first year. I swear to God.
Well, I mean, grade 9 wasn't easy for me either. I don't think it's easy for anyone, It's like it's very nerve-wracking, and you always hear the stories about people being sick or, not wanting to go, and I get it. It's just there's a lot of judgment in high school, and there's a lot of people at different maturity levels. And some people, we all mature differently at different rates, but sadly it can really impact our experience in high school, especially where we went to high school.
Yeah.
There was a graveyard, just so people listening understand. We had graveyards on either side of the high school and then nothing, so you really had to have a
Mhm.
car or a vehicle or and be old enough to drive. And but then the other thing was everyone came with their skidoos in the winter, and it was pickup trucks and skidoos and tractors. And nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with the country, believe me, folks. But what's wrong is when people have closed off opinions and ideas, and then they decide they're not willing to allow other people to exist. And that was something I did witness at North Dundas, and it was something that did bother me. And I'm grateful, and we're going to talk about these people because I think they're important in our both of our stories. And that's Miss Valancourt and Miss P, because I saw them doing things. Well, they educated us first of all about this stuff before I ever heard anything about it. They were teaching us about the community, the LGBTQ community. Plus, I'm sorry, I'm bad at that. But when I worry about upsetting people, I'm just that silly dude. But I still I remember wanting to help and wanting to make people feel accepted. And I remember Miss P's room at lunch hour, and she would have so many kids in there that needed to feel like they belonged and needed a place to feel safe. And I'm just so grateful to both of those ladies for their educating and their ways of acceptance.
Yeah, absolutely, and an honorable mention there as well to Mr. Chambers,
Yes.
because yeah, like as our sociology teacher, and I think there was like a couple like sociology and cultural something, I guess. Yeah, he went into great details on like identity and sexuality and things like that, and as well like bringing in other people with different viewpoints, so that you're not just like hammered by one side of something. He was very open and very great at making a lot of like helping expose a lot of people to a lot of new ideas. And he was the official biographer of the band, yes, and I will never forget that fucking detail.
Well, of course, because he released a book in chapters. And it was a big deal because at that time we weren't yet in the Amazon world. We weren't yet in this crazy world where we can just get whatever we want at the click of a button. So it was really impressive that he got that biography into the chapters stores back then, to me, anyways. And he was, I never got to have him as a student or as a teacher, but my sister did. And my sister absolutely adored him. And she was picked on and she had problems, but she had bullies there because of certain things. And, he had her back and was helping her learn about things. So I do appreciate him. And I know that he had detention every day at lunch hour. He took all the kids for detention every day, I think. And I think that's wild. But you didn't mess around. You didn't mess around in his class. He was
No,
no muck about.
no.
I mean, we also had some other cool teachers that were interesting. We had Mr. McIntyre, who had some great
Mm-hmm.
stories and taught us. I remember he brought in the tear gas, the empty tear gas can, and
Oh yeah, yeah.
remember that. And he passed that around so that we were prepared for to go to our first rallies or whatever, when we were going to protest. And he didn't want us to be scared of the tear gas. And so we did have some really interesting, cool teachers out there in the boonies that were kind of helping to level the playing field. And yeah, we were great. Our drama group was great. Our improv team was great. Our band was great. So when it came to the arts, I think we also had crews of people that made sure it just excelled. And you were one of those people
Yeah.
that I could always depend upon for writing when it came time to writing something for Christmas plays or whatever it was, or for drama class,
Oh, those are
or if I'm
fun.
trying to rope somebody into being in one of my silly, goofy plays. I could always depend on you to do that. And well, thank you. That made my life a lot better back then. Um, so
I still can't like not hear that song that you had in your play that you insisted be in the
mm,
play,
mm,
and
mm,
it was just like no, I
I'd like. I
ruined
don't
it
know what
forever.
was wrong with me back then. I really don't. I mean, I'm still messed up, but
It was fantastic.
I didn't do any drugs at all back then. I mean, I was sober as a canary in the coal mine, like I tell you. And um, so Russell, how long were you in Russell, Ontario for? Like you came from Nova Scotia, right?
Uh, yeah, yeah. Came from Nova Scotia, a town that's about 20 minutes down the road from where I am right now. I'm in a place called Mount Uniacke, which is literally just outside the Halifax city limits, up a mountain somewhat. But I moved to Russell in, I want to say 2000, like summer 2000. And the last time I was there was 2006, because for the first 2 years I was at Acadia, my folks were still living in Russell, and I would come back for the summer. So yeah, the summer of like 2006 was probably we probably all just partied. The vague memories of every day going and just getting a little schmammered every day.
Yeah.
Especially Matt Drury. Oh my god.
Well, there you go. See, there's another one who the Buckle brothers introduced to people, and along with you, and without again, the crews were cool. I'll tell you my honest opinion, and
Yeah.
and I don't care if the high schoolers who are watching get mad. I'm gonna give my honest opinion right now, and that is the kids from Russell were the coolest, and the kids from Chesterville were cool, and the kids from Morewood, pretty cool. The kids from Winchester, you guys got work to do. I'm sorry to tell you. You just some of you guys were jerks, and I don't know. And I know a lot of you now, and like I said, maturity is a big thing. A lot of us grow up and we change, and our viewpoints change and we grow. And it happened to me, so I know it happened to a lot of other people. And but yeah, back then there were certain groups of I would call them hockey cliques, perhaps, or farmer cliques, or groups of people who really didn't want anything different coming anywhere near their circle of understanding. So whatever they felt the
Yeah.
world was to them, that was it. And they didn't want anything else coming in and countering it. And so I've already told people they flicked quarters at people in the hallways. Um,
I forgot
who
about
were
that.
who were queer, people who were gay. My friend Ben, he would flash them. He would just open his robe and flash them, and they would all run away. But he was one of the boldest and most outspoken gay or queer people at that time that I remembered. And he was kind of a leader that way, that he didn't give a crap what anybody was going to say to him about it, which I thought was great. And also, he was a conservative at the time. I don't know if he is still politically, but he taught me a lot of things about how politics might not line up with other viewpoints, and it's never, people shouldn't assume things. It's basically all I'm saying. Things can add up in different ways. So
Yeah.
you're in Russell, and I know that your father was an RCMP officer. Is that kind of why you had to move?
Yeah. So he got. All right. So in 1998, 99, Swiss Air 111 crashed in Peggy's Cove, and he got tasked with being one of the chief investigators of that. Did a really good job, I guess, because he got promoted to some uh, data collections, like genetic information, DNA collections database in Ottawa, and like helping to set that up. Yes, he is part of the mechanism of surveillance. Yay!
But like you said,
Pays quite a
he
bit.
did, like you mentioned it, like wow, he did something that was very difficult to do, that not a lot of people
Yeah.
wanted to do or could do, and he proved that. And that's why, I mean, you talk, it's surveillance. Yeah, we need them. There's times when we need these people so bad in our lives, everybody,
Oh yeah.
but yeah, keep going.
But yeah, so he was doing that. My mom as well works in the government, doing things that I don't even know because I'm not allowed to know, which is really fun and interesting. God damn it! I really hope she someday tells me. But so they were both working in the government, and Russell at that time was something like 10% local people who are actually from Russell and 90% government or corporate board members. Like it was a weird little place because like yeah, 1 in 10 houses was like someone who actually was from here, their family was from here, they lived there, and the rest were just like moneyed people who just didn't want to deal with the city. The city was about 20 or 30 minutes away. That was good for them. Every night, like 9 out of 10 houses had a pool, kind of thing. It's an odd place. I miss it so, but I have not been back to it. I do want to get back to it, but
Kind of was like a Mayberry or whatever, one of those what you'd think of as a safe town, or it has the main street and everything to it. Well,
yeah,
for a long time, our friends worked at the gas station where it was they'd pump it. It was full service, and they were like one of the last full
yeah,
service in the area. Very old school in certain ways. Go get your ice cream from the ice cream parlor. Mom and pop shops still reign the day there, at least back when we were there. And it's interesting because my parents moved to Chesterville because they were told by, like, which is more like 50 minutes away from the city. And they were told by real estate agents, oh yes, this will become a booming area because of Ottawa, and it's going to be, it's so close, everyone's going to be moving here and this and that. Well, that didn't happen, but it did happen in Russell, Metcalfe, in the areas pretty close, about 20 minutes from Chesterville. So you kind of did witness it grow a lot. Um, Gosh, I just had flashes of Al Bragnitz in my mind, which made me happy for no reason at all, just because I was thinking about him and Rory working at the gas station.
oh
Back in the
god,
day.
yes.
Um, man, yeah, but yeah, my opinion was you Russell boys were the best. You were the most worldly out of all of us. Like you had the most, like AJ, you, Drury, even like Tom Bigelow, like a lot of Troy, a lot of guys,
Oh yeah,
right? Like you
Troy.
guys had some super worldly, intelligent people. Cameron Laird, um, yeah, like, and then of course in history, I always felt like, gosh, you were always 10 steps ahead of me in history class, and you were always so good at it. So I'm not surprised that you took history class at all. Mr. Bell and Mr. Rainey, they prepared you well for that experience?
Oh yeah, no, they were fantastic. Like, uh, Mr. Bell and Mr. Rainey were like the perfect duo combo because if one didn't know what the hell you just asked them. The other somehow would, and like combined, I swear to God, they knew all of like general history. You could never stump both of them.
No.
They would confer for a moment and then come out with something great. It was
Yeah.
fantastic, and yeah, I don't know. I think it just came back to like embracing like storyteller technique. We had a lot of fun in history class. I remember like we used to record some stuff to just make history a little fun. And I always loved working with you because you were one of those people who you understood the yes and of creativity.
Yeah.
It's not, I don't know, I can't think of anything. No, it's just throw anything on the
Yeah.
fucking
Gotta
wall
go.
and so let's see.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like I was always very very like not bad jealous of your talent, but like oh he's so fucking good, he's so fucking
I
talented and funny.
know.
I gotta up my game. I gotta keep trying. I gotta keep doing better. And so yeah,
It's
like
mutual, man.
it was always like you were fucking the one that was like, no, there's the goal. Talented. You had an agent. Holy fuck. You were doing like shows at the time.
Oh, good
It's
humbling
like, holy
experiences.
shit.
Good humbling experiences. I'll tell you about the agent story real quick. So I get the agent in Toronto. I'm 16 and I'm traveling, getting my dad to drive me 5 hours for auditions into the city. And the auditions would last about 5 to 10 minutes at the most. One time it was for Casino Rama and they just told me to drool on camera. They're like, you're a popcorn salesman at the movie theater. You're falling asleep, you're bored. Can you just drool for me? And then afterwards, I was like, can I do like anything else? Like, can I do a tap dance? Like, I've taken 3 types of dance class. I want to show off. And they're just like, no, you did great. See you. Bye, And so I was getting like a little bit scared. And then I went in for this audition and there was 12 gingers and they all looked exactly like me, except varying in height. And they all had glasses. Okay. And they were like, okay, this is a Joel Plaskett music video. You know who Joel Plaskett is. He's a massive star,
Oh yeah.
right? And he was doing his music video for Come On Teacher. And so
Okay.
this is what a day I missed of school. So I was there at this audition and with 12 other gingers that looked like me. And they put the song on and they said, okay, you're nerds. You guys are nerds. You're goofs. You're nerdy geeks. And the nerdiest one gets the part. So I started dancing and I went up and I was like, teacher, help me, please. Doing my old Bobo thing. And I got the part. I beat them all. They thought I was hilarious. I got the part. Day of the shoot comes. I go in. The director comes by. He takes one look at me and he goes, nah, I'm sorry, but I've kind of recast your part. I got some buddies coming in today and they're going to be playing the geeks. And so you're going to be an extra and you're still going to get paid like you're going to be the geek, but it's just not how I see it. And I was like torn asunder. I was ripped apart. Now if you go watch the music video clip, you'll only see the back of my head for about 5 seconds and I'm in background shots. So I got really humbling lessons out of it. I figured like I learned stuff that I hadn't learned maybe before. And yeah,
Oh, that
yeah,
sucks.
so that was pretty crazy, eh?
It's yeah. It just slew the. Yeah, that was my God. What a time! What a time! Like so hopeful. So and yet I remember Mr. Green, I believe. When he told me, he was like, "What do you want to do after school? Like, what do you want to apply to?" And I was like, "I'm gonna go into film. Like, I want to work in film direction." And he just took me aside one day and went, "There's no money in that. Don't do that." Like the nicest possible way. Just like there's no money in that. Go find something that pays
That's
you
the
money.
only problem I had with Dundas is that when push came to shove, I remember a teacher coming and telling me, I don't think you should be going on this drama trip. Meanwhile, they were taking a student standing beside me was going to be going to this trip for basketball. And their grades were worse than mine. And they were missing more class than me. So I just looked at the teacher and I just said, if this person isn't needed for the basketball team, then I guess I won't be needed for the drama club. But as far as I can see, you guys need this guy. So, sometimes I feel like that's where maybe a Canterbury might have pushed us differently. They might have said, you're not going to make money, but so what? Maybe something will come of it. And Yeah, but I'm just jaded like that because I'm a failed artist. So I like I like people who go for it and, like you said, throw things at the wall. But I think you did that. I think you did it in a very smart way.
Well,
I
thank
think
you.
like I regret now not going to university, but I wasn't ready at the time. And I'm glad that I graduated college. And the only reason I graduated college was because of my girlfriend at the time. She made sure I woke up every day, made sure that I wasn't stupid, and I got through it, in my opinion, because of her. And I quickly went to theater school after that, after the relationship ended at Humber, and I got kicked out real fast, maybe 6 months. But it was very competitive, and about 75% of my classmates were queer or gay or whatever, and it was a completely different world. And all of them, for me, it was like eye opening, eye shocking in many ways, because I was in the theater world all of a sudden, where before I was in Ottawa. And I think you would have loved it. I think you absolutely would have loved it, because that 6 months for me was like a holiday I'll never forget. I had a class called Chi River. We'll
There.
put it that way. I had a class called Chi River.
Ooh.
Yeah, and other fascinating classes, which I think would just blow people's minds wide open. I had a woman teach me from Moscow. She had a one woman show during the Soviet Union that would sell out every night, and she was
Oh, cool.
brilliant, and she could scare the crap out of us. And my gosh, like, I think you just would have loved it. You and Robert Penwarden and AJ and Alex, all of you guys would have
Oh
gotten
yeah.
such a kick out of it. And I thought about you guys every day when I was there. We had an African dance teacher who was about 5 feet, maybe he was 4'11", and he would walk along, and the girls who had a little extra weight on them, he'd be making us do stomach lifts and stomach exercises for our core, and some people would be crying.
Okay.
And when he would walk by, he would say things, horrible things. He'd walk by and go, "Suck it in, suck in your belly button. You think you're going to be on the Lion King? You think you're going to make the Lion King? Suck it in." And he could say that because he worked on the Lion King, and he worked in like on in the show in Toronto, like the Broadway esque show, and he was making sure that people had the ability to be fit and be ready to do the dance. And we had one teacher who taught us about gosh, I know you're going to know what this is. It's a technique, Alexander technique, where you learn to
Oh.
release certain muscles, so that if you have to hold a pose, or you have to do something, if you have to fart, all these different things on camera or on stage that may occur, this lady came and taught us about this. And you would have liked her too, because she was trying to get us to just fart in class. Her job would be, she'd get called into plays, and they'd be like, come in and tell us, like, to how because people get told they're going to be naked on camera, or they're going to be naked on stage, and then they have a freak out about it, and they're like, I'm not ready. So this woman would be hired throughout Toronto in the area to come in and help people, and she'd just show up naked. She'd just walk into the studio, into the theater, absolutely naked. And she was in her 40s or 50s, folks. I mean, she wasn't trying to be no model. She just had no fear and no qualms about it. And so yeah, you would have loved it. You would have loved it. And I wish I had stayed the
Oh, that's
3 years,
beautiful.
but I was too nuts, and I wanted music. I kind of had my first dose of being in bands, and my shift was changing. And then choir class, I found out that I loved it and that I could lead people in it. And I had no idea about that. But then, so, it's kind of cool. And I just feel like telling you that, just because we haven't had a conversation in so long. I just felt like letting you know kind of about my experience in college, and how I really think you guys would have loved it. And it was wild. It was wild. Um,
There was definitely a lot of times when I was like, oh, why the fuck did I come out east for this? Why, like I could have gone to Carleton. I got accepted to Carleton. I got accepted to Ottawa U. I could have just stayed there, and I remember like how much fun everyone used to have together, like in the summer, like going out to like the guys in Algonquin and just partying at their place, and like going to the bars around there. And yeah, it's one of those weird things where like, so Wolfville is a very small town. It's so fucking small and twee. It is literally used in Hallmark movies as like
Yay.
stand-ins for like Americana and all that shit. It's that fucking twee. and small and all that. And it's where my half my family's from. So like, it's not like small town in a way, but it's complicated. Um, when you get a chance, look up the Goalers. They were not far from that area. Very bad, very disgusting. But yeah, there was a lot of times that I was like, oh, why did I strand myself out here? Because now I have to make friends all over again. I'm kind of like an hour away from the city, in the middle of like nowhere. It's like it's in the valley, which is like a more rural part of Nova Scotia, and obviously made friends. Ended up being on the improv team because I'm that kind of cool kid. Yeah.
Nice.
um,
Improv's amazing. I think
love
everyone should
it.
have to do improv.
Yeah,
I think everyone. It's a useful skill to be able to pick up and go, go, go. And
it
yeah,
is.
I think everyone should do it.
And it's fantastic for confidence. You can talk to anyone if you can improv. You can just it's great. And
It's true.
yeah, I started writing stuff for journalism in at North Dundas. I was like the editor of the school newspaper. Once again, the coolest kid on earth. Uh, and I
You were
used to.
cool.
Thank you. I used to do some like newsletter work for a comic book shop, and that's how I started like getting into that. When I got to Acadia, I obviously hooked up with their student newspaper, became a section editor. Eventually, I picked up this general like vibe of being a gonzo journalist, i.e., I would do drugs and then go report on something, uh, which worked sometimes.
Yeah, you
Sometimes.
sound like a rock star. You sound like like a rock and roll rock star, like before going on stage.
I'll, I'll,
I got it.
I'll,
That's pretty awesome.
there was definitely some moments when, like, yeah, like you'd go party with a couple of bands. I'll tell you a couple stories in a few minutes about fun times out here. But yeah, like you party with a few bands, you get drunk, you get a little stoned, you ask them a couple questions, you go on some adventures, and then you write it up, and no one fucking believes you because what the hell are you talking about? Good times, good times. Go into journalism if you can. If it's not a dead industry by the end of this video, kids. Uh,
It made a
uh,
big difference. I'll just chime quickly. I did
yeah.
TV broadcasting, and before, like all the people at CTV, for example, here in Ottawa at CGOH, it used to be called, they were all grads of Algonquin. And when I was graduating, it was changed. It was changing completely to the point where now you have to have a journalism degree to get on television to talk about things because you got to write things. And so you got to write a lot, and you got the internet articles going with it. So it was kind of like, for me, I lost out on some job opportunities because I didn't have journalism. Like the guy who does sports for the Toronto Maple Leafs on TSN. I did hockey play-by-play with him, and for the Ottawa GGs as a volunteer thing when I was in college, and we were both very good at it. But the thing that separated us was he had that journalism degree from Carleton. So I mean, I think it's still useful. I still think it's a pretty cool thing to have, and yeah. Sorry, keep going.
No, no, not at all. I'm just amazed that it's like, oh, okay. So actually, there are times when this degree does matter because it can be complicated in the industry. The industry has always been made up of like one third, one third, one third. So one third people who just like pure experience and talent just got them in. Like they started writing, they had a gift and a talent, and they have no necessary education in it, but they're really fucking good, and so you let them write. One of my best friends, she was until recently she was a columnist for Saltwire, the company I work for, and she's like that. She has no like formal journalist education, but she's a brilliant fucking storyteller. And so, you give those people a pen and they will write and you will love it. One third are journalism students, people who have journalism degrees, such as myself. And it's really more about like theory and law, I would say, like media theory and how not to get arrested while doing all of this fun stuff. And the other ones are broadcast, which is an incredibly important one that often gets overlooked now because, as you say, you have to do so many other things. It's not just are you competent in front of the camera reading a teleprompter or off the cuffing outside an event, you have to then go and write that up. You have to be an editor as well for that. You have to hopefully have some context of like what it takes to promote that, what it takes to get that out on the modern media sphere and its various hoo-has and what-dos. That is literally my job, hoo-has and what-dos now. That's what I get paid
Hoo-ha!
for. Hoo-ha!
Yeah, that's nice.
But yeah, like it's very odd because a lot of people who work in journalism who don't have a journalism degree hate people with journalism degrees, and a lot of people with journalism degrees are really fucking like snooty about it. So it's an interesting industry. In terms of rock stars, I got two stories for you. One that's like a little dark, but still funny,
Okay.
and the other that is just outright funny. So when I was working, yeah, so this all occurred when I was working at Frank Magazine, the tabloid. I used to crash at this place called Heartbreak Hotel. It was a house, but it had been more or less hollowed out, and every room in it, every single fucking room in the entire place was a music studio, a completely separate music studio. So like it would be someone's bedroom, but also wired for sound, and you could just like record straight to it. There was a professional mixing setup in like the main bedroom. Every room had some guitars on the wall, and motherfuckers could just like pluck one off, play, and all that. I am fucking useless at music. I am a reporter. I cannot play. But, like, you just hang around this place and, go to all the parties and crash there and shit. And so I got, like, a bunch of great interviews, like ECMA, East Coast Music Awards stuff, great events, great nights, a couple of, like, histories of music of, like, Halifax has a constant stream of rotating bands as an ecosystem. No band lasts more than about 5 years. But it's this constant, like, were you there for this band? Oh, what days? What fucking days, man? And one band called Alert the Medic.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty decent rock band.
Mm-hmm.
This was the night after a really big fucking party. Everyone was out of it, like hungover is all shit. Someone had found an old Coke machine and filled it with beer. So for a quarter, you could just hit it and get a beer. A quarter. It was tragedy in the making. I'm sure there's a lot of really good, like if you've heard the Stanfields, half of their work comes from this quarter beer machine. I swear to God. So I'm sleeping in the basement, and in the next room over, Alert the Medic sets up. This is at like fucking 6 a.m. after a holy fuck party. People have gotten 1 hour of sleep, and the wall is about this thin where my head is and where their drum is, and they launch into Sabotage by the Beastie Boys. And it remains one of my favorite memories, despite being a moment of sheer fucking panic and fear of what the hell is happening. Why does my head feel like exploding? If you ever get a chance to crash in a home in which all of the rooms have been turned into music studios, take it!
That's a cool place. That's a cool place.
That's a cool place. It's somehow still around. I don't think it's filled with bands anymore. Woe unto whoever had to fix that fucking place up. It was a mess. The second one is the dark side of rock and roll. Yeah, this is the fun part where you realize, oh shit, there's a lot of shady crap. So when I was working at Frank Magazine, we did investigative journalism. I would pick fights with like scammers, frauds, criminals, and all that shit.
Oh, I would love to watch that. I'd love to watch you do that.
So
it'd be a lot of fun.
Like,
my gosh.
And this was before I transitioned, so I was a real fucking prick too.
You were fucking mad.
I was. And
I getcha.
We find out that the Hells Angels affiliate is creeping back into the town as a setup to bring the Hells Angels back in. So me and my editor decide on this brilliant idea, truly the smartest thing we've ever done. Jesus fucking Christ. And we identify every single member of the gang. Photographs, living addresses, job, all of that fun shit. And so couple days go by after the article, and we get a call from the Halifax Regional Police Force, and they say there is a contract out on us, on me and my editor. Not a death contract, a beat the fuck out of and smarten up contract from the Hells Angels.
A
And
beat, a beat the.
a beat the fuck contract, beat the fuck out of me. And so they gave us a little red button that if you pressed it, SWAT would come. They told us SWAT would not come fast enough to save us, but they would be there to apprehend the people who attack us. And I was allowed to legally carry a very large knife for about a year. Nothing ever came of it. The affiliate gang did go away, so technically, hey, victory, I won, hey. But that was definitely one of those moments of like, am I playing with fire? No, it's the heat that's wrong.
I'm blaming Gonzo for that. I'm definitely blaming
Yeah.
his influence on you for that. But I mean,
Definitely.
I encountered the Hells Angels one time in New Brunswick, and I was telling this story. Maybe I can't remember which episode, but it, basically we were convinced to go to this fundraiser for breakfast for kids for their school breakfast program.
Huh.
So we showed up, and then we found out when we got there that it was the Hells Angels putting it on, and they had the police with them, they had the firefighters with them, and it was like this big happy family event. And I was very, very bewildered. Now there was only two of the HAs wearing their patch on their crest, and they were the heads of the HA in New Brunswick.
Fuck.
So, yeah. So I was just kind of like, what have I gotten myself into? Because I'm not close to home. But I got to be honest, the dinner they prepared was amazing. The fried chicken or whatever we had was fantastic. And then the motorbikes all arrived coming in as a unit was pretty cool too, because there's like 300 of them all like coming in. And they did a fashion show on the back of a there's a fashion show on the back of a truck bed, like a semi.
Oh my god.
And the girls were all strippers. They were all, obviously they were not models, but they were, and they knew what they were doing. And the cool thing was there was one of them was trans, and they were super 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 awesome to her.
Oh,
And
fantastic.
yeah, she changed in the same room as those girls, and I noticed like from afar, just being in a band, watching from afar, that they were really tight and very like supportive to her. So that was a cool thing I noticed back those years. There were some people in the community who were being dicks in the crowd, and I want to talk to you about that. Do
Yeah.
you encounter in your life assholes? Do people come at you and make your life difficult for no reason?
No, not in person. I mean, social media is its own thing. You know, that's a kettle of fish and a hell spawn as well. But I don't know why people don't fucking bother me. I'm not sure if I visually pass. I've
I
always
think
kind of.
you look great.
Oh well, thank you very
Absolutely.
much. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
I always kind of put down to bullies look for people who lack confidence and who seem scared in a moment. And improv very much taught me how to at least act like you're confident in a moment. And so I simply I don't get fucked. I've never personally been in person fucked with. Like, you know,
Good.
as I said, people online are assholes no matter what. But you know, whatever. They don't really fucking matter. They're not here. They're not saying that to you. Really, they're saying it to themselves in so many ways.
Right. Right.
But yeah, no, I know people who have been you know, like harassed and assaulted, obviously, but I really do think that it's a matter of like confidence, charisma, charm. If you can project into a room that like you're not someone to be fucked with, not necessarily because you're big and scary, but because why? What the
Yeah.
fuck would the point be? I'm
Yeah,
far
yeah.
more interesting to talk to. You know.
I agree. I totally agree, and I'm glad to hear that. And one thing I would say then out of that is you're obviously not going to any Jordan Peterson rallies and getting up in his face. But I mean, because that's the thing. Again, this is the thing about the media is it kind of portrays people and it portrays groups in certain lights. And the more I talk with people who are trans, the less I see the narrative from the media being very realistic. I don't see it as in the same light at all. I think people need to feel like themselves.
Yeah.
God damn. That's what I really truly believe. And there are so many obstacles to this. And so many, and like you said, you got to learn about identity and all these things. And gosh, like during the transition, did you have doubts? Did you question it? Or did you have belief in yourself?
Definitely doubt it. So it's a little harder to tell like this, but I lost about 85 pounds as well. I used to be heavier in high school and university, and so I only lost that after I transitioned. Like I had to kind of find the confidence to be myself to then give a fuck about my weight and like my health and such. But before I lost that weight, there was definitely moments where like you're just looking at yourself, and of course you're seeing yourself as you've seen yourself for years. You're not seeing who you eventually will become. You're not seeing what half a decade worth of estrogen will do to this. And fantastic, by the way. No complaints. Take the drugs.
Good.
Take the drugs. But yeah, there was definitely moments when it's like I'm just gonna be fucking ugly, but at least I'm happy. At least there's this moment when you come out where this weight that has been with me my entire life, like every single moment you saw me in high school, at the
Yes.
back of my fucking head is this goddamn idea, this concern, this anxiety, and this weight, and it just went. And suddenly everything, literally everything became easier. And that includes like if you're having a down day or you're just not feeling something, it's not nearly as weighty and bad and depressing even as it was before. It's at least more accurate, And so,
Yeah.
yeah, there was definitely moments where I'm like, oh, I'm never going to have my sexy year. But I'm 38. Like, fuck.
Don't give away our age, Mikaela. Come on. We're 29 for life. Both of
29
us,
for
all
life.
right? That's right. 29 for life. That's what I've settled into. I ain't maturing no more.
Party, 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 party,
Yeah.
party. I once interviewed Andrew WK, and he was really fucking cool about that kind of stuff. He's just like, no, just fucking go it, do it, party, 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 be yourself, have fun, and like that was a fun one. That was a really fun
Did
one.
comic books play a role in your acceptance of yourself? Was X-Men, was there anything in these comic books where it was like it helped you relate and or did it just take you away from reality?
No, without a single fucking doubt, it helped. And as much as yeah, like I was a big fan of the X-Men. Obviously, that's an easy one. Very
Yeah.
straightforward parallels, sometimes very overt, but it would be actually a specific book called The Invisibles by Grant Morrison that did it
Okay.
for me because a lot of that book is about identity. It's aged badly because it was written in the 90s, but it's like it was all very positive stuff at the time. And there's a couple of like gender non-binary and gender non-conforming and trans characters in it as part of like the main cast, and it was really liberating to be able to read that and see these ideas, these transgressive ideas that were actually very much speaking to something so deep and a part of me. It's the comic book that the Wachowskis then borrowed to make The Matrix, so it very much goes in line with
Ah.
trans nonsense. Yeah, but yeah, the
All right.
Invisibles the Invisibles changed my life. It was
Cool.
mind breaking. Yeah.
Cool. I knew that that stuff was big to you back in high school, and folks, if you check out YouTube.com, My Gender is Cinema, Michaela's done some great stuff there.
Thank you.
Stuff like I like it. I enjoyed it personally. It's stuff about like cowboys, right? Stuff about like how the westerns came to be, and it deals with identity. It deals with all these kinds of ideas, and also, of course, you got to follow. Mikaela's work at saltwire.com. Saltwire, it looks to me like it's a newspaper or a news magazine online for Nova Scotia.
Yeah, so it's a regional conglomerate. It began as the Chronicle Herald, which is its flagship newspaper, like a physical newspaper in Halifax. It's been the record of note in Halifax. Oh God, in one way or another for like 200 years or so, possibly a little bit longer than that.
Wow. Well, congratulations then. That's really
Thank you very
cool.
much.
Yeah.
And a couple of years ago, the owner of it, the son of the owner, he inherited it and he started buying up other media companies around the region because we're a relatively small region and a relatively, like compared to Ontario, poor region. And so a lot of these little papers were failing simply because people are leaving the rural area. They're not buying physical newspapers anymore, and you're losing these presses that had 100+ years worth of like heritage in their communities, and losing community newspapers in any form, losing community reporting is one of the most dangerous things that can happen to a democracy, because as soon as
I
people
agree.
are no longer in touch with their direct community, it's fucking game over. You can tell them anything, they don't give a shit. You can elect anyone. It's so dangerous. So Saltwire purchased all of those, and it's a 4 province conglomerate: Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, PEI, and Newfoundland. That said, we are currently in the middle of an insolvency case, and we're being sold to a national thinger. I can't legally say more than that, but yeah,
Wow. It's that
yeah,
time though, like all the media jobs, people being fired and laid off all the time. Here in Ontario, we hear about it nonstop that Bell continuously is laying people off.
yeah,
And it's yeah, it's a trying time in that way. Let me ask you about one of the articles I read on Saltwire, and that was about Tim Houston. And it was just recently updated that I guess he avoided going to the Pride Parade.
yeah. So and he did so in an interesting way. He and the Progressive Conservative Party here, who are the ruling party, they simply left the parade. They didn't tell the organizers. They didn't alert anyone whatsoever. They simply did not go to the parade, or they left the parade before it began. And when asked about it, he said that, oh, the RCMP told him that there was a threat. To which the RCMP replied, well, no, you asked us if there was a threat, and we said, I mean, technically, maybe always there's a threat, but like
Right.
this is over pro-Palestinian protesters being vaguely around the parade. They had actually done it in a really smart way, I feel, where you would have chunks of the parade, of course, as normal, and like say you have Dalhousie University. Dalhousie University has various contracts with like companies that have to do with like business with Israel. A couple of companies that like build weapons contracts, stuff like that. Lockheed Martin is in Halifax, and it's hard to avoid. And
Hmm.
so you had their section of the parade, and what they would do is they would just give a little section in front of that section to any Palestinian protesters who want to make a point about that area. So anytime there was a group such as Dalhousie, or such as a couple of banks, or any group like that that had some investment that the Palestinian protesters want to make a point about, they would allow the Palestinian protesters to, like, okay, a couple of you will march right in front of it. You'll state what your goals are, what your aims are, what message you have. You move along because it's a parade, and then they come along, integrating it, making it just part of the normal message, and keeping it from being a conflict in any kind of manner. If you want to ignore it, you ignore it. If you want to give it a little credence, or make it louder, you could do so. I think it was a very smart way of doing it, and it made it so that there was no disruption whatsoever. CBC reported that they disrupted it, but there was no disruption, and the only outcome that there seemed to have been out of any disruption is the PC party simply decided that they would say that that was enough of a threat, that they weren't going to be involved in the Pride Parade.
Hmm.
However, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, if you know of a threat to a public event, and to the point that you yourself believe that your body is in danger, you also have a responsibility to maybe tell the organizers or the public, the general public who are at the event. And so for those who are unaware, the Pride event in Halifax is like the largest event in the Maritime region. All 4 provinces, this is the single largest annual event. 10,000 plus people descend on the city. And I know that doesn't sound like much to like Ottawa and Toronto, but in Halifax, that's
Yeah,
noticeable.
no, I understand
That's
completely.
filling streets and entire like common areas of the city, like massive parks and stuff. So this is if there is a threat, then that is a threat to the most amount of Nova Scotians that there can
Wow.
be at any one time in the year. You should probably share that with, say, those Nova Scotians. And so instead, it's been kind of just Tim Houston's really good at going. I can't tell you that. I can't tell you that. I'm sorry. It's secret. I can't tell you that. Secret. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I thought that was interesting. People should keep an eye on that. I think that's a intriguing storyline. Let me ask you some. I don't know. These are kind of
Yeah.
based questions, but let's have fun. Sometimes I was watching Jeopardy a year ago, and out came Amy Schumer, and wow, dynamite in a bottle. Does it annoy you that people like me? We cheer for people like Amy, and we think about you. We think about our friends. Does that bother? Is that kind of annoying? Like, also, like, like I'll see Elliot Page do something, and again, I'll be like, "Yeah, Mikaela, yeah, get in there," and like,
Any celebration is a good celebration. Like there's wins are communal. That's the best way of putting it. It doesn't matter who wins. A win is communal, and if anyone can do something good, then that matters. Not necessarily, like it's nice to live rent free in someone's head. I mean, with rent prices these days, but especially when it comes to especially when it comes to acceptance and like just spreading that constant humanity, that idea that no, you're more than a headline, you're more than this general like subgenre of people that people like to complain about or talk about or make shit up about. If you can get people to really care about an actor or a politician or an athlete who is as well going through some aspects of that, then you are spreading that empathy to the entire community, and that's fucking wonderful. That's beautiful.
yeah, empathy is what it's all about. Let me ask you one more tricky question, and that is tomorrow. I believe the Olympics are starting, or at least they're starting very, very
I think
soon.
it's tomorrow.
Um, do you think that your community will take any type of media backlash or attack during the Olympics, or do you think that that will be left alone? That they're gonna not bother you with
It
that?
already has.
Yeah, eh?
It was. I believe. So there's people comparing. It was a runner who had like tested slightly higher for testosterone, if I recall, and like it's a natural thing that happens to athletes. If you do athletic things, your body will drive more testosterone into the body if it is capable of producing it. And this was there are no trans people currently in this Olympics. Like there's no out trans people in this Olympics. This is a cis het woman, if I recall, and it just becomes this thing of like no matter what, even if there's not a trans person involved,
Right.
eventually there will be an
That's what I
article where
mean.
it's just like, oh, look how they're ruining it, and we wouldn't even be having this
Well, that's what
conversation.
I'm
It's like, oh, for
saying.
fuck's sakes. Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm glad that you're in the media because we need people like you to balance things out. Because that is the issue of today is people like to make a story out of nothing, and when it's not there, they still try
Yeah.
and make it. And that's something I hope we change over the next 50 years, get better at in the media. Come on, folks. We all know that clickbait is clickbait. We all know what it is
That's
now,
yeah.
but we still fall
And
for
there,
it.
there is a way forward to avoid that and to make the audience like because of the nature of modern media, the clickbait, the always constant drive for both attention, clicks, and to grab that algorithm, the stories have gotten fucking dumber. And as stories get fucking dumber, so does the audience. It's not the audience's fault. It's that you're intentionally poisoning their well. But if we can change the way that media makes money, if we can pull it away from chasing the algorithm and constantly trying to one up on those kinds of like, okay, this was mean spirited but got a lot of clicks, so let's do another mean spirited follow up to it because that's going to get even more clicks. If we can find a way to monetize in a different fashion that takes away from that constant chasing, like the dragon's tail, all of that'll disappear because it won't be fucking financially viable. People fundamentally want information, real information, so that they feel like they have some actual idea of what's happening in the world. Second, people want good information. They want to feel good. They want to actually feel like the world is in a good place. And as much as it is incredibly important to tell people bad news and, like the climate is on fire, help, this is bad, inevitably there becomes a turning point where two things happen. One, they'll chase anything that says the opposite of that, no matter how fucking insane it is, or they'll completely switch off because of doomerism. And we absolutely have to address this problem sooner than later because it's already split. Like, people are already going one way or the other. It's very difficult to keep an interest on, like, empathetic stories that actually require you to think about the people involved in them. And that comes back to the loss of community newspaper, like that level where you're reading a story about someone you personally know. That is so important to just maintaining this hope in media. And without hope in media, holy fuck, we will do horrible things. We will do horrible things to get that money because this industry is just hanging on because it's trying to constantly chase this rat race of technology now. And whatever it takes to be able to get to the end of the day and have a paycheck is becoming the norm for so many.
Yes, I agree with you. And, it links in so much in my mind with music and where the music world is, where the film world is, like you said, media. And it's overall, the whole part of it is barely hanging on, in my opinion. Tours are very, very impossibly expensive to do now. For bands, it's very similar. It's interesting to hear that. It's very, very similar worlds and issues going on. I want to say thank you so much to Mikaela Gorman for joining me here today. I had a lot of fun. I learned stuff. I hope you at home learned stuff too. Please check out Mikaela on YouTube at Crash and Burn, and I will put links below. Check out her articles on saltwire.com. My Gender is Cinema, also on YouTube. Um, Thank you so much,
And thank you
Mikaela.
so much for having me on. It's been fun chatting and catching up. Holy shit, we gotta catch up more often.
I agree. I agree. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching today, and we will see you next time on All Worn Out. Bye bye.